Hi everybody. Here we are back at Encore After School Program, the Home Edition. This is day 4 of Crazy Eights. So today out of your binder you need to get the papers that say All Hands on Deck and then the two pages that look like this. Okay, and from your bag pull out the 2 pieces of yellow paper, one's shorter than the other. Your brad fastener, you see it? Scissors, and I think that should do it. So what do we use clocks for? Usually we use a clock to help us measure the passing of time. Like right now, you are doing remote learning and you probably have Hangouts or Google Classroom, you have to be there at a certain time, or you meet with the teacher at a certain time. So you need to know how to look at a clock and know what time it is, right? There's 2 different types of clock. There's the analog clock and the digital clock, which you're probably more familiar with is the digital clock. But let's talk about that one first, okay? So turn your paper, take this paper that says time for a birthday, all right? So a digital clock is kind of like the clocks that you would see on the microwave, maybe in your car. The time looks like this. It would have the hour and then the minutes with a colon in between. So this time is 9:14. So that would mean it's 14 minutes past 9. All right, so there are some ways that we can kind of play around with time. So think about this for a minute. Let's say I wanted to see what time it would be using my birthday. All right, so my birthday is in November. So if I didn't know that November was the 11th month, I could count up to it. I could say January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, there's 10, November, 11. So to write that digitally, I would write 11, and then you put the colon, and the day is 11. So that's how my birthday on a digital clock would look like, 11/11. That time happens twice a day. It happens in the morning, and it happens in the evening. So if I think about it, would I be awake both of those times? I wouldn't be. Some people might be, but I'm not awake at 11:11 at night on most days. I'm not. So what about you do that with your birthday? The first number will be the month, and the second number is the day. So just figure that out. What would your birthday be? Let's say your birthday was March 5th. Let's count up to March. January, February, March. So on a digital clock, there's always 2 numbers in each spot. So even though that's the 3rd month, we're going to put a 0 in the tens place showing that there's no tens. Okay, so it would be 3. What day did I say? I don't remember, so let's pretend I said 11. The day would be 11, so we'll just go up to 11. So this would be your birthday, March 11th, digital clock time. So that would be 3:11. You probably are awake in the afternoon, 3:11, but not in the morning at 3:11. All right, let's do another little thing with a digital clock. How about the letters in your name? Your first name would be the hour, and your last name could be the minutes. So my first name is Cindy. So Cindy. So I would write 05 for the hour, and my last name is Lemay, Lemay. That's also 5. And again, you're going to write 2 digits. So this would be 5:05. So that's 5 minutes after 5 o'clock. So you can do that with your name. Let's say you have 12 letters in your name. We can't go past, or 13, excuse me. You can't go past 13 because there's not a 13 hour. So you'd have to just use a 12 if you have more than 13 letters in your name. So play around with that for a minute. Okay, so once you're done with that, let's look at the analog clock. And that's what this one looks like. All right, this one you're probably a little bit more unfamiliar with, but it's pretty simple to be able to tell time with an analog clock. We have two hands on the analog clock that spin around to tell the time. So that's what our two little strips of paper are for. All right, so the first thing we're going to do with these two strips of paper, we're going to take our scissors and cut the corners off so it's like a point. Okay? I'm going to do that on the small one also. Cut the corners off to make a point. All right, so these are the hands of my clock. The shorter hand is the hour hand, and the longer hand is the minute hand. So let's just put that on our clock. So take your brad fastener and poke a hole through each one. Doesn't matter which hand you put on top. At least to me it doesn't. I don't know if on a clock it makes a difference. And then once you got those two together, then put it right through that black dot in the middle. So you've basically just made an analog clock so that we can mess around with the hands and tell some time. All right. So let's look at this. As you can see, there's numbers 1 counting all the way around to 12. Those show the hours, and then the little lines in between are minutes. And there's 5 minutes in between each number. So if I had, let's see, if I had the shorthand on the 4, that means it's 4 something, right? And I put the long hand on the 12, we would say that's 4 o'clock. 4 is the hour, and it's kind of 0 minutes. On a digital clock, it would look like this: 0, 4, 0, 0, because there's no minutes. It's right on the hour, right 4 o'clock. Right, but let's say I move the minute hand to the 1, and that stays on the 4. Okay, I said there were 5 minutes in between each number. Still 4 o'clock, but it's 5 minutes after 4 o'clock. So you would say 4:05 or 5 minutes after 4. All right, now let's say we went all the way down, the minute hand went all the way down to the 6. That's usually easy to tell because usually it would be like this. Halfway is 30 because all the way is 60. There's 60 minutes in 1 hour, 30 minutes in half an hour because 30 is half of 60. So again, we look at the hour hand first. It's after the 4 because it's after 4 o'clock, but not quite on the 5 yet because we haven't reached 5 o'clock yet. We haven't passed the full hour. So we would say 4, and then you could count by 5s if you wanted to. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. When the minute hand is all on the 6, it's always 30. You could say 4:30, you could say 30 minutes after 4. And then if this kept going around, we're going to pass, and so the hour hand moves to the 5, and if we get all the way up there, we're at 5 o'clock. Right? Does it make sense? Play with it for a little bit. Then we can divide this into 15 minutes. That's another easy thing to do. We will keep this. Let's put this on the 6th. So the hour hand, the short hand is the hour hand. It's on the 6th. And if I wanted to say 6:15, 5, 10, 15. 6:15. So the 3, if the minute hand's on the 3, then we know that's 15. If the minute hand's on the 6, we know that's 30. So if the minute hand's on the 9, that would be 30. Let's count by 5s. Starting with 30. 30, 35, 40, 45. So this would be 6, because it's after the 6, 6:45. So you can play around with that with a little bit. Why don't you, on your clock right now, why don't you put 7 o'clock? I'll give you a chance to try that. 7 o'clock, and I'll show you what it looks like on my clock. Okay, so 7 o'clock, I'm going to move the hour hand on the 7, and the minute hand is going to be on the 12 because that means there's 0 minutes after 7. That's what 7 o'clock looks like. Okay, how about 7:15? Put that one on your clock. All right, so we said that we can count by fives, 5, 10, 15. So if it's 15 minutes after 7 or 7:15, that's what it would look like. Or you remember that the 3, I said that was 15 minutes. But if you didn't, then you just count by fives. Okay, here's one we didn't talk about. Try this. Try 10:35. I'll give you a minute to try 10:35. All right, so I'm going to start with the hour hand, put it on the 10 because I know that's the hour because that's the first number, 10. And if this is 15, I could always count to 35 from 15 if I wanted to. Or I could just remember that the 6 means 30, and 5 more than 30 is 35, and going to the 7 is 5 more. So that would be 10:35. So check to see if that's what your clock looks like. One thing we didn't talk about, well, we did, but I didn't do an example, was doing like these. This is 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and then 5 minutes. So here's a real tricky one for you older kids, and you younger guys, you can try it if you want to. Do 9:22. See if you can find 9:22. 9:22. That's a tough one. So if you can't get it, don't feel bad. You can do like I do. You start with the first number, which is 9. So you'll know that much. You'll know that the short hand should be on the 9. That's the hour hand on the 9. What would 22 be? Well, let's count by fives. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Well, 25 is too big because 22 is smaller than 25. So let's do that again. 5, 10, 15, 20. All right, so there's 20, 21, 22. So I'm going to put the minute hand right there at 22. So that would be 9:22. So if you have somebody there with you, just throw out a time and see if they can figure it out. And you guys can go back and forth and keep track and see who gets the most, or just play with it however you like. All right, that's all I have for today. I will see you tomorrow.